and welcome to my channel. My name is Venus and today I'm doing my final book haul of 2023. I've got sci-fi, horror, fantasy, and one romance and a western. Let's get started. First up is All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. This is a slow burn romance from what I understand. It's about a woman who's recently had her heart broken and moves back home to Colorado, and apparently she likes checking out her landlord. All I know again is that it's slow burn. Jack from the Book Stack annotated this book so much and I was intrigued, so I definitely want to check this out. I love me a good slow burn romance. I'm totally fine with that. This is actually super long, so I'm hoping I love it as much as Jack, and I hope I annotated as much as she did. Next up is a western, Lonesome Dove by Larry McCurtry. I've heard so much about this book this year on BookTok and BookTube. I'm very interested in this. I understand it's a very character-driven story, and I love really good character-driven stories. I don't mind that it's very long if I love the characters. This is about Texas Rangers in the Old West and the town Lonesome Dove in Texas. And from what I understand, there's heroes, outlaws, prostitutes, Native Americans, a whole slew of characters, and pretty early on you get attached to them from what I understand, so I'm very excited to read this in 2024. Heading into sci-fi, I have Kindred by Octavia Butler. This is going to be my first Octavia Butler book. I'm very excited to read this, and this one is about a woman, I believe, in the late 70s who is somehow transported back to slave times, and she has to save her uncle or relative from being basically murdered by slave owners. And it keeps repeating, and every time she has to save him. So I'm very interested to read this. I love a good time travel. I also love when themes of racism are interweaved into stories, and I understand Octavia Butler is an amazing writer, so I can't wait to read this book. And then my BookTube friend Becky from Bex Reads, she got me this off of my Amazon wish list. Thank you so much, Becky. This is A Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu, and this takes place during the Chinese Cultural Revolution. And there's a group of scientists that secretly try to send signals to aliens, and those signals are picked up by aliens that are on the brink of destruction. Their culture is on the brink of destruction, so they've decided to come to Earth to invade, and it goes from there. I have read some reviews where it can be kind of hard to follow. There's heavy physics in this, which kind of makes me nervous, but I love a good alien book. I'm hoping I can understand it and follow it well. It's blurbed by George R.R. Martin and President Barack Obama on the back, so hopefully I'm able to keep up with this book, but I'm very excited to read this one. And the last sci-fi book is Defiant. This is actually young adult sci-fi by Brandon Sanderson. This is the fourth book in the Skyward series by him, and I still need to read the third book and all of the novellas in between, but I had to complete the series in my collection because I know that I'm going to absolutely love it. This is actually a signed copy I got from Barnes & Noble. So very thrilled about that. I just love the colors on this cover, on all of them. They have like these purples and these blues, and they're just so beautiful. In this series, we are following Spencer. Her father used to be a very well-known pilot, and then supposedly he went rogue. So after he passed away, Spencer was kind of looked at a little bit as an outcast. Is she going to follow in her father's footsteps? And she does go to, it's been a while since I read the first two, but she goes to like a pilot school where she learns, and she excels very quickly in it. She's amazing in it. And I absolutely loved the first two books so much. I've heard not so good things about the third one, but I'm still going to hold out hope that I enjoy it. And this is on my series tracker for 2024 that I actually completed. Can't wait to jump back into this story. Now we are moving on to thrillers, and the first one is Never Lie by Frida McFadden. This is going to be my very first Frida McFadden book. I know she has a lot of a backlist to get through, but I've heard really good things about this. I actually do not know what this is about. As newlyweds Trisha and Ethan are searching for the house of their dreams, they think they found it when they visit the remote manor that once belonged to Dr. Adrian Hale, a renowned psychiatrist who vanished without a trace years ago. But when a violent winter storm traps them at the estate, the house begins to lose its appeal. Stuck inside and growing restless, Trisha stumbles on a collection of audio transcripts from Dr. Hale's sessions with patients. As Trisha listens to the cassette tapes, cassette tapes. She learns about the terrifying chain of events leading up to the doctor's mysterious disappearance. With each tape, another shocking piece of the puzzle falls into place and a web of lies slowly unravels. But by the time Trisha reaches the final cassette, the one that reveals the entire horrifying story, it will be too late. Hoping I enjoy Frida McFadden's writing style, because she does have a nice long backlist and I love a good backlist to jump into when I find a good author. So I can't wait to check this one out. Next up is Falling by TJ Newman. I read her book Drowning, I think it's called, this year, and I loved it so much. This is definitely, well, Drowning was definitely fast-paced. I couldn't put it down. It was heart-pounding. It was thrilling, and I'm hoping that this one is the same. The author used to be a flight attendant, so she is very well versed in pilots and flying and planes and all the things, so it makes it even more intense with all of her inside knowledge. And this one is very interesting. So this one says, you just boarded a flight to New York. There are 143 passengers aboard. What you don't know is that 30 minutes before the flight, your pilot's family was kidnapped. For his family to live, everyone on your plane must die. The only way the family will survive is if the pilot follows his orders and crashes the plane. Enjoy the flight. I know this is going to be good. I can't wait to read this one. Next up is my December book of the month pick, and this was No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. This is also my first time reading this author's work as well. I've heard great things about all of her other books, and I don't know anything about this. This is a thriller. I'm just going to read this. It says 3 sisters, 2 murders, and too many secrets to count. So it's not too long. I think for these thrillers, I might read these like during that time where, you know, the classic seasonal depression starts kicking in. January and February just drag on, and I'm gonna need something that's gonna keep me on the edge of my seat. So I'm hoping that this will be one of those. Now we are heading into fantasy, and I had to pick up a hard copy of The Tyranny of Fate, the second book in the Empire of the Wolf series by Richard Swan. I love this series so much. The third one comes out, I believe, in January. So I had an ARC e-copy of this book, but I needed to have a hard copy. So I can't wait to possibly reread this one. Not sure if I'll do that, but I needed to have this on my shelf. The first book I have, a hardcover. This is obviously a paperback. I don't mind if they don't match. I've kind of gotten over that mentality, but I honestly prefer paperback anyway. In this series, we are following a justice named Sir Conrad von Volt and his protege, Helena. The story is told through Helena's perspective, which I absolutely love, and they basically travel to all the different little places in their kingdom, and von Volt is like the judge for any kind of, you know, domestic situations. In the first book, there was a murder mystery, I believe, and then in the second book, there is a missing person mystery. Also weaved throughout this, there's religious tensions. It's a lot going on, but I loved it. Took me a little bit to get into the second one, but after that, it was just fantastic. It has me really excited to figure out what is going to happen in the third book. And yeah, so I had to add this to my collection. And the next fantasy that I picked up is A Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson. This is part of his Kickstarter books that he put out this year. I think this was the last one, and I heard really good things about this one, so I had to have this edition. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about any of the Kickstarter books. I've just heard a lot of really good reviews about all of them, except for like that frugal medieval one that came out before this one, so I didn't purchase that one, hoping I don't regret that in the future, but I love the way these look on my bookshelves. They're so pretty, and the inside have so many illustrations, and I love Brandon Sanderson's writing, so I'm sure I will love this book as well. Now we are getting into the horror books. The first one is Endless Night by Richard Lehman. I have heard very polarizing things about this author, but I follow Kelsey from Slime and Slashers. If you are not following her and you are a horror fan or anything nostalgic from the 80s and 90s, please check her channel out. She's absolutely hilarious and very entertaining, and I swear my TBR grows every single time I watch one of her videos. But she is doing kind of a Richard Lehman year in 2024. She's picked out books for each month, I think, except for January and December. You can pick out your own Lehman books. And so for January, I picked Endless Night. He's a horror author. I don't know anything else. From what I understand, he likes to talk about women's rumps, and he can be kind of off-putting for some people. I'm not easily offended, so I'm actually really excited to see if I enjoy his writing. I hope it's scary and creepy, and I don't know if he's a slasher writer. I literally know nothing, but I can't wait to read my first Richard Lehman book. Keeping up with my trend of reading Stephen King at least once a month or once every other month. I think I have skipped the last 2 months though, unfortunately, but in 2024, I do plan on reading The Stand. So last year, my favorite book of 2022 was Swan Song by Robert McCammon. It was post-apocalyptic. And everyone says you have to read The Stand because that is kind of similar to Swan Song. And so I am really hoping that I enjoy this one as much, or if not more, than Swan Song. It's massive. I'm hoping I love all of the characters in this, and I love Stephen King's writing, but sometimes he can just be very long-winded. I did not have that issue at all with Swan Song. I loved every single page, and that's also a very long book as well. So we'll see how these two compare. I'm very interested to see. The next two, I went to a Barnes & Noble that I don't normally go to because it's like 35, 40 minutes away from me, but my Barnes & Noble is so small now, they just don't have that much of a selection. And this Barnes & Noble had paperbacks from hell, so I had to grab 2 of them. First up is Hellhound, and this is by Ken Greenhall. Don't know anything about it. I'm assuming it's about a killer hound. And then the next one is When Darkness Loves Us, and this one is by Elizabeth Engstrom. I think this one actually has 2 stories in it. It has a creepy doll on the cover. That's all I need to know. So I am definitely excited to read both of these in 2024. I might save these for Old School April, also hosted by Kelsey from Slime and Slashers, but we'll see what those prompts are when that time arrives, but I can't wait to read these. And the last book is Frostbite, and this is by Angela Sylvain. I can't even remember where I heard about this book, but I know it takes place in the 90s. There's aliens in it, so it's like an alien horror, like sci-fi horror. Just checking off all the boxes, 90s, horror, aliens, I'm here for it. And there's also like, I don't know if these are killer prairie dogs on the back, but this cover, it's giving me Stranger Things vibes. I mean, I'm loving this. So this one, it says, remember the 90s? Well, the town of Demise, North Dakota doesn't, and they're living in the year 1997. That's because an alien worm hitched a ride on a comet, crash landed in the town's trailer park, and is now infecting animals with a memory loss inducing bite, and right before Christmas. Oh, maybe I should read this now. Now it's up to 19-year-old Raylene and her best friend Nate to stop the spread and defeat the worms before the entire town loses its mind. The only things standing in the way are their troubled past, a doomsday cult, oh gosh, it has a cult in it, and an army of infected prairie dogs. This sounds crazy. I'm hoping I love it and that it's not just completely weird and corny, but this has so much promise, and I think I might be reading this soon because this sounds very interesting. There's still some time left in December, so who knows if I get any more books, but so far we're going to call this the last haul of 2023. I hope you guys are having a wonderful December and your reading is going well. For me, it's been kind of a slow month. I think I've only finished 2 or 3 books, 3 books. So I've just been hanging out with the family and working on my reading journal. So can't wait to show you guys the fun stuff I have in my reading journal. But as always, thank you guys so much for stopping by, and thank you for all of my new subscribers. Welcome. I truly, truly appreciate you. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys again soon. See ya.